you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
We greet you in the name of our Lord Most High, Ahezaah. It's a new name for this day and time. We want to thank you for tuning in to this show. For those who haven't watched the show before and this is your first time, you're in for a treat. The evening topic for our show this evening will be about emotions. How people, ministers, preachers, imams, so on and so on, get people caught up and wrapped up into the emotions and not really hearing the word of the Lord Most High being brought forth so they may accept it and then follow what the guidance that is sent down to them. One of the things that we've done as a part of our community and our teaching that Allah sent down through Lord Holy-Apostle Deen is really be taught and be educated on how to receive the Lord's Most High's message, how to apply it and live it. Is what the real key of following the guidance that is sent down for this day and time. So with that being said, I want to greet my co-host and brother in faith as always, Brother Fakir Abdul Aziz. May Ahezaah's peace be within and about your presence. We had a conversation prior, as we've been taught by the Lord Most High through our Holy Apostle Deen, is that things that we deal with, we try to keep on a base level, on a level that understand that people can relate to, that they can hear being said to them, and not take them on a fancy or sensationalism trip. One of the things that we've been recognizing and seeing from watching just programs, of other religious faiths, they kind of take the people on a trip, through their emotions, and getting them caught up into a fanciful thing and not really keeping them grounded about what's being said. And that's one of the things that we thank Allah was high for by sending us Holy Apostle Deen to ground the message, to give the Lord's message, as we said before, prior in our shows, about the bitter and the sweet. Truth isn't always going to be a thing that you're going to be ready to adhere, ready to accept. But if you're seeking the Lord and all that you've been given, then you'll be blessed by the Lord Most High, by what it sends down. And that's the thing that is so needed for the day. We're not trying to get people caught into the fancy or the hype, as people say today. But we're trying to give people a message, the Lord's message, the sign of the times for the day that is real. And people need to really look at that and pay attention to what's going on. So like I said, my brother, what do you think about what I've said thus far going into the show?
Yes, well, I use a piece of opinion about your presence.
Mind speaking of your presence as well?
We talk about emotional.
Yes.
It's given to us by Lord Holy-Apostle Deen in the teachings from Ahezaah.
Right.
That emotions is simply one aspect of the makeup of humankind and the like. And that's an aspect besides just that of other things like intellect and spirituality of a person, or the physicality of a person, such as among the other levels of the makeup of a person.
Right.
Interesting, looking up emotionality and looking at emotions in itself and by itself is how easily and how often emotions have been used as a vehicle to reach out and to influence the people. It's done in so many spheres, even besides religion, but it's done especially in many cases of religion too, just to gear certain followers into having an emotional reaction to something that's being given to them. And then I guess the sense is that once those people have that emotional reaction, they experience the emotional reaction, they think that there's substance to it. And there may be substance to it, there may be substance to it, but the question is, do they have any reason as to why they're coming around with just emotion? It's not just from preaching and rhetoric and voice and stuff. It's the use of music too. The use of the music as well creates moods and the like, singularly for just creating the mood, and not particularly a lesson, just the mood.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I think Allah much for is that one of the things it does with Holy Apostle Deen, it takes the wise arts and manifests it, breaking it down of the Lord's message on a way that you can really accept what's being heard, what's being taught to you, what's being given to you from the Lord as wisdom, which we are supposed to recognize as divine guidance, that people don't necessarily really adhere to, believe that can come forth through the memories of a man, but Allah brings it forth in this day and time. And that's something that people need to look at. I know myself, coming through the church, you know, my background coming through the church into Islam, to a lot of women for the universal religion of truth, is that I can hear the minister, the preacher preach on Sunday, and you get caught with the music, like you were just saying, you know, the rhetoric, the talk, and then at the end of the day, you go home, you have to be, if you reflect, or you put that truly seek to reflect on what you heard, you can sit back. Many times, people can't really give you back what the preacher really said to them. They can't give you back the message that was bringing forth, but they can always give you back the music, the feeling good, the shouting as they call it in the church, you know, the dancing, the praising. They can always give you that back, and they always say, "I felt good." But then, what did he say? Did you get filled spiritually? Did you get filled, you know, on all levels of your being to be satisfied with what the Lord is bringing forth to you? And that's the thing. That's when that took me out of the church as being a seeker after truth unto the Lord, to which brought me forth this day. And that's one thing I really want people to really understand, that when you are sitting somewhere and investigating, don't just go there just to get the feel good, and we've been taught, you know, the feel good lies, but investigate all that you hear, because that's one thing that is so paramount. Being a part of this community, coming from Lord Holy-Apostle Deen from Ahezaah, is that not just hear what I'm saying, but now go to your sources, your holy books, you know, investigate all that you're hearing, because it ain't about being fooling people, get caught in the emotions, you know, or the ride. But I want you to understand what you're being a part of, what you're into, what a part of this, understand what this covenant really is. That's the thing that people generally don't look at.
One aspect of it is to say that emotions in itself, by itself, is not something that at sometimes emotions has a place. You know, it's relative. The way something is said to you, the way it's stressed to you. If people come into the light of some information and the like, they can get the different emotional reactions of joy, sometimes sorrow, sometimes a reflection. You know, it depends on what's there. But there's a reason as to why they have that particular reaction. Along with the reaction is the rationale for it. You know, I've looked up a definition of emotions, and the definition of emotions has talked about the particular feelings of, such as fear, sorrow, joy, but absent of the reason that goes along with it. So a reaction is just a reaction for what it is, but you can get a learning experience from the reaction if you understand the reasons behind that reaction, why you got that reaction, whether you receive the truth. One thing I love about being in the presence of Lord Holy-Apostle Deen, the messenger today, is how comfortable I was made to feel, you know, in receiving the message, you know, and by being made comfortable, it made me able to relate to the message even better. It made, you know, whenever you're comfortable and your mind is relaxed, you're more clear of mind. You can, you know, you want things come to you very clearly, you know. And in that, there's an emotional reaction that's in there somewhere. I don't know, what do you call it? I guess some level of joy or satisfaction. But
the way the Lord brings it into you.
Yes.
The message
so to say emotions has no place at all. It's not relative, but it's
not the focal point. It's the centerpiece of what we're trying to get across.
And what it's done with the emotions, like we said, we're talking about when emotions is misused, emotionalism. The emotionalist, he or she has developed a literal art of designing their message in their way to bring about an emotional reaction. It's not what you said, in the forms of religious preachers throughout time, times that we read about and times that we can see on the media today.
Even on television,
And when you talk about television and movies and entertainment, that's done on a regular basis for the purposes of creating an emotional reaction. You know, I mean, that's just regular, you know. They got that down.
They do movies so well, like you said, with that, and that, you know, they call movies tear jerkers now. They know they're going for a particularly emotional effect on people that watching viewing the movie. But I'm looking at what you're saying, and I think a lot much with him what's being said.
Thinking about that tearjerker, if you can hold your thought. You can even watch it, one of those types of movies. You can watch it a number of times. You may be watching the movie for the 6th time, the 10th time, whatever. You know the exact plot. You know exactly how it's going to turn out. You know all the lines, and even still, there will be some emotional reaction on one level or another. It's just how much of an art they got it down to influence.
And the art that they utilize is dealing with your subconscious. They catch you in the subconscious mind and affects you.
But you were saying.
Like I was saying though, back to what we were talking about, it's very much so that I just came from a funeral. And part of the emotions again that make funeral parlors rich, that they utilize that in music when they play it, funerals, making it really sad. It's like take you down. And you know, we've been taught from Ahezaah, Lord Holy-Apostle Deen, about death as being a part of life and embracing all that is taking place, a part of the evolution process. When you're going to live, you're surely going to die. But accepting the death and being rejoicing that they're going back from this world, this trials of life, back to the Lord Most High, to be judged, whatever way they lived here, part of religion. But thinking about that, people necessarily, they go, you know, they take friends, they really try to get you down with them. And when you try to bring a word of comfort and joy, then they want to, why you want to be happy? Why you want to feel like that? We should be feeling bad. That person that's in that casket that has passed on, they're not feeling the sorrow with everything you're talking about on this plane. They may feel the effect in their life after here, you know, whether they be judged. But you should always remember the person in good terms, good quality, and good time that you had with them while they're here. You want to keep with people in the beat, then keep them in the upbeat part of what you're saying about the emotion, but in the proper perspective of how to utilize everything that you've been given. But people have a tendency to take you to the other end of the scale, so to speak, in dealing with the emotion. And that's one thing that's paramount that people need to really look at.
That's and that's valid. There's another thing on even using that scale. There'll be somebody that has the talent to bring the people, say, to change their mood. Say if the mood is generally somber or down, they'll change the mood and bring it up. And then, but simply because of being able to put out stuff to create a change in the mood, they'll say, well, we're valid because now you're joyous, now you're happy, come join us. This is the way to go. Right. Turn to this way and accept this way, call upon the Lord, call upon our Lord, or something like that, because this is a joyous occasion. But behind that was just simply, there's still no message, just a change of the mood, just simply a change of the mood. It's an industry. I've heard of people practice. It's an art. I couldn't believe it. Looking at the definition, I could see literally the art, the practice. I think in drama classes, they use the term for actors to emote. Emote is a practice for them to perform ways to create an emotion and emote sorrow, emote fear, stuff like that. So
and you can turn the switch off and on, so it's like a light switch. You cut it off. Okay, I'm gonna feel like Saturday, feel happy day. Some people do that, but at the same time, not really understand that. One of the things I look at, and when you hear people speak their message, or different ministers or so forth and so on, speak their word, they don't really understand what they're bringing forth in truth. They get the words out, but they don't understand themselves what's being taught. We talked about that a while ago on one of our earlier shows, is that going to school to get degrees, get a degree in theology, religion, whatever, so forth, that gives them now a stamp of approval to go out and preach, like you said, back into the schooling of how to get people up, down, how to get money out of people, because they all that again, probably what you're talking about, getting people caught up in the emotions of things, how to get money out of people.
So the very leaders of the people, even with all their degrees in schooling, they're lost in the notion that emotion, in a sense, is the way of religion, is the way of his belief.
Exactly.
That's quite a thing. So how the followers are going to, what the followers are going to do. But
the followers are going to become like cattle, like sheep. They went up there, the minister, passing man was saying, they get locked in, not using reasoning, not thinking.
But it felt good.
But it felt good. They always leave the church. They always leave the church.
I don't feel good. It wasn't a good.
Even when I was going to the different matches and
we didn't get a good service.
We didn't get a good service with this guy. He didn't pull my heartstrings enough. He didn't take enough money in my wallet. I laughed time. And some people rate that. Going to church, like I said before, going back to my church days, people would sway how the minister, how he put forth his message, and if he wasn't upbeat enough, the people weren't happy enough, they weren't joyous enough, this man may not have a job. Or they may someone replace him later on down the line because he ain't giving the message that we maybe want to give forth. And that's one thing
he's not performing for them like
he's not acting.
I don't like this show and I'm not going to come see this program. I'm not going to do this.
I don't like that path. I don't like that path. He don't give enough.
And it's not that we're not to be insulting. But that's the reality of how literally this play is made.
Back to what we talked about before, part of that bitter and sweet. One thing about Lord Holy-Apostle Deen that he comes through, it's like the two-edged sword Allah speaks about, part of him being what he is, the prophecy, speaking the truth with the two-edged sword, cutting to and fro, back and forth. Allah cuts you. And when he brings you the joy, coming in the truth at the same time, for something that's trying to call you about yourself, that pain may come in the emotion, but if you seeking growth, like I said, truth again, you would take that and grow with it,
So we were saying maybe the cell of the emotion is simply the cell of happy emotions alone, happy emotions, but sometimes fear emotions. But when people see the truth of the message and they come in recognition of the message, and maybe in their instance, happiness is not the thing that they're going to experience among other things. But when they recognize it, they still recognize the truth, but because it's like, oh, it's bringing me down, or it's bringing me fear, or it's bringing me whatever it is that, among other, we're only talking about on the emotional level. We're not even talking about the psychological, the intellectual level that they got to deal with the message. But the people are turning from it, partly because on the issue of emotion, because they're not getting satisfied in the way that they
on the wave of that emotion. Very few people get to really hear the message. What we were saying before, really get to hear the message that's being presented to them.
Right.
Part of the teaching that Allah give us through Holy-Apostle Deen is that we're going to make it clear. We're going to make it relate to you, like you said, make it relative to your situation, your being, what you need to know, what you need to help you follow on the path of the way to better yourself in submission, surrender to the Lord Most High. See, that's the whole thing about the message that Allah brings forth here. You know, all that I, prior to coming here, you know, I was going through the turmoil, you know, the emotional roller coaster of life. Till I got here, Ahezaah brings it down on such a level that only emotions we're going to take now is all that you deal with the inner war, the inner jihad, inner struggle within yourself of trying to seek to surrender yourself, give yourself to the Lord Most High in righteousness and truth. That's the thing that I find the most pleasure and joy in what it does, what it's doing, you know, for us in this day. That message, this is what needs to be given, you know. One thing about Lord Holy-Apostle Deen that I recognize, and Allah clearly recognize about him, is that he's not a preacher. He's a teacher. He's here to teach Allah's message, Ahezaah's word, give the covenant, convey the message. That's his duty as one being sent forth, to convey the message, you know. And in doing that, those who hear the call, heed the call, accept the call as a part of this, may embrace this, they become into the covenant of the Lord sitting down for the day. That's the whole thing why he's here. That the world needs to be called to this. They're not going to get you with the fancifulness words, you know, the rhetoric.
And there's a difference between preaching and teaching. Preaching can come in a style, and teaching can come in a style. Some teaching can come into the form of preaching, you know. But there's a distinction between the two. You know, one is if you're talking about preaching without a lesson, then that's worse than a somber teaching where there's an important and divine lesson involved. You know, one thing about the preachers is that in playing with the emotions or getting caught up in this industry of emotionalism and stuff like that, they a lot of times use it to compromise the people. You know, they say they compromise themselves, I should say. Whereas they don't want to offend the people who've gotten used to getting that good preaching or that good something like that. So some of the preachers who are aware, they're more aware of truths and the messages that they give, they don't want to offend the people, so they make compromises. So it becomes now service after service, Sunday, Friday, Saturday after Saturday of compromising with the devil.
I think about one of the things Allah brought forth in one of the songs that Allah put for us called The Blackout. You know, is that people don't want truth, they want to feel good lies. They want to compromise, like you saying, with the devil and not really bringing forth the message. Because many things that Allah brings forth in His Word, if you read the scriptures, it's going to be black or white, this or that. Ain't no in between, you know, ain't no compromise, ain't no shucking and jiving. But people don't want to hear that. So therefore they compromise, and the preachers compromise, and they go into the, I'm gonna smooth them over with His Word. But one thing what I used to do with us, He don't smooth it over on it. I bear witness to that. I used to bring that truth in and let the chips fall where they may. I bear witness. And that's real.
Like the stories on the reactions the people had and what they had within the stories, you know, within the accounts, the religious and biblical accounts, you know. So, it's a dilemma. You know, that the people have to come to meet, and with all respect to the people, it's not to say to judge what the intentions are. We don't know what the intentions are of these people, but it's very clear that emotions alone is not the same thing as logic or as reason. And logic and reason, if it's for the wrong things, is not a thing to follow either. You know, it's a balanced package. We're told you have to follow a balanced way. You know, that includes emotional responses and intuitive responses and rational responses, and you know,
like I said,
seeing the message being real.
Seeing the message right. Like I said, the messenger, he don't compromise and what the Lord sent through him to bring forth to the people. You don't compromise the Allah's truth and what's being said. Like I said before, let the chips fall in man. When the Lord words come, either accept it or you're going to either reject it. You know, like Jesus said, you can't serve God and mammon at the same time. You know, a house divided can't stand. You know, so if you part of this, if you really seeking truth, then you will take what the Lord Most High bring forth through his man in the word, in the form of words, or the message meant for you. And at the same time, looking at that same thing that as men and women,
but Lord, you can't make me
it's men and
feel
women.
good while you're doing this. Someone might,
They may say that.
Okay.
But it ain't about making you feel good. See, back to what it ain't about to feel good. If you're seeking to please the Lord, then it may give you the feel good and striving to be righteous.
You were
Seeking to be
talking about
right.
men and women, though.
Men and women, definitely. Men and women are created differently on different ends of the scales. You know, it's one thing. You know, men are more mental. Women deal more in the emotions. So ministers have to play on women when they give their words forth, because they know women that get it with the heartstring. They get them with that. You know,
Same thing.
you know, you have children. You know, you have children. I have children.
Right.
You know, and chastisement. You know, but they, reprove them or whatever. Most of the time, many women may be the one, well, don't beat the baby, because they get caught in emotion. Children put that sad face on. They play. Children have the emotional game too. They play on it. Oh, mom, I don't mean it. They look sad and they go through their thing. But fathers have tended to be more stern and, spite. I got to do what I got to do to keep you right, to keep you firm. I got to keep you from going the wrong way. And that's the thing that people don't look at. Men I recognize, but women, they know. They deal with truth about themselves. They know, I'm an emotional creature, being, and I deal with my emotions, part of the cycle, all that deals with that part of that.
But as opposed to that, in the house of Ahezaah, Lord Holy-Apostle Deen raises the name of Ahezaah in that name. Ahezaah, there's significance even in the calling of the name in this day. And in that, there is no compromise on those levels to the female or to the male, or to the children, or to whomever, It's only to turn to your Lord, your one Lord, as to whom you're supposed to serve in all aspects of your lives, from all levels of your life, whether it's in your family or in your job or in your going out to do your bidding and doing further work for him, in your raising your children and the like, in your relationships with your spouses and the like.
Oh, yeah.
You serve an Ahezaah in
everybody has a role to play,
the Lord, and it's
everybody has a role to play. And the beautiful part about the message that Ahezaah brings forth from this community is that as people, they talk about it, they read in the Quran, about the stage of man above the woman, things like that. But Allah has blessed us in understanding that it's what in service of what you do is the stage and the way you work. But at the same time, everybody before Ahezaah is the same. Back to what you were saying, everybody follow the guidance for men and women. It doesn't make no distinction of race,
it's given
gender.
to us.
It's given to us.
It's given to us that is just for the purpose of order.
That's exactly. For order, the family, structure,
It's not stating that the man is more important
than the woman. No, because Allah has given much to the woman.
Very, very significant. She's the first teacher. The very first teacher of humanity, clearly. And there's no argument with that. And interestingly enough, when you talk about emotionalism, that play of emotionalism, we talk about how the women are basically approached on those levels of emotion.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And by doing so through the woman, she being the first teacher, now it could dissipate to the men and to the children through that woman. And that's a play on, And like we said, there are parties that practice this play on emotion. There's an art. They have got it down to a design. In fact, Madison Avenue has it down to a design.
That's all about advertising. Advertising. They take the wisdom. They take the teachings. I should say they take the teachings that Ahezaah brings forth down in mankind, and they use it for the dark side. Those who practice the black arts, the black magic, so forth and so on. They take those very things that you're talking about as a part of emotionalism, getting people caught into different things, and advertising. You said in mass now, that's a whole strip that deal with those things. That's all they utilize people to buy, sell goods. The target audiences, and they all deal on people. Like I said, they target really basically women again. Like I said, Allah is great up the women today. He's great up women. They have the right place and their right stature, what is calling them to do. That's one of the things Allah has raised these women in this community to strive to be about. Raise them up not to deal with their emotional level, but deal on the level of playing in the guidance that Allah has given them to recognize truth, to deal in truth, to manifest in truth, and to be of truth. And the truth is Allah. That's what it is. And people, the only truth that's to be known, So It's trying to get them abroad, to give us a broader understanding and how to live our life, follow our religion, our way of life, and apply the law that's been sent down for the last over 7,000 years, or we call religion,
yes,
for a different time period. But Allah, out of His day and time, His mercy, is breaking those seals. Part of His prophecy of Holy-Apostle Deen being here again, breaking those seals that all they keep hidden, all the things they don't want you to know about, to help you better yourself on the path to the way of surrenderance to the Lord Most High. That Allah is taking away those veils, those shields, those blinders off people's eyes who's seeking to be in truth.
We say the women are made out of wisdom and strength. The men have come up out of power. That's what we said. And that power is for the purpose of being the physical lead in matters. But you know, in the case of an army, the one who stands in the back is the general, the one who's directing the troops and the like. So,
and standing back with him, is that usually that woman putting something in his head. That's how wars is fought.
I was going
wars
to
started.
the general in there.
Oh, okay. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You know, get him in bed at night, get him on his emotions.
But in all working together, in all the entities of the family, knowing their roles, knowing the significance of their roles, divinely given, and the significance of their roles through their guidance. That way the family is held together in the divine covenant. You know, the family.
And everybody will be in their proper order and won't deal on these base level emotions.
Right. It won't be tricked by those influences that are against the way of Ahezaah, that are seeking to be against Ahezaah, and they go about the practices of their practices of going against Ahezaah. You know, like you say, games of emotionalism, of knowing emotionalism, games of everywhere from, especially in the case of religion, where we have to presume people are going sincerely seeking guidance. They may be looking for the truth, looking for the way, and you have these parts standing in front of them, looking to lead them astray, lead them away.
Exactly.
You know, the great blessing of Ahezaah today is having sent this man today, his voice and his word come out and to give the people a clear message, a clear teaching, a clear understanding as to whom you're supposed to turn to and to whom salvation is truly due. The true salvation is to the one Lord that you know in your consciousness, you know, and you know in your heart, and the other aspects of the body of your being besides just emotions. You know.
Everything you're hearing thus far, like I said, this is a show that I had moments when I thank you for tuning in. And those who are not familiar with the show, keep looking at this show. You know, we kind of call everybody. Part of our being here on public access television is to make the calling of people. You know, I'm sitting here, you know, on this panel, not looking at who will be here in this day and time, but the Lord knows. He doesn't make any mistakes in what He's given. But this message is for everyone. That's why we're here, you know. So we want to thank you for tuning in A.H.A.D moment. But like you said again, all that's been said from ministers and so forth and so on, you know, maybe they need to hear this word, you know. Maybe they may give them a chance to rethink their teaching, you know. Rethink how they giving out the word to people. Because this is the day of time. This is the day of revelation. We talk about it all the time. This is our mention. You know, truth needs to be brought forth. Falsehood got the advantage. The Lord Most High says in His Quran, in the Bible, in the Vedas, in the Torah. Allah sent down this word. And maybe they may partake in this message. You know, because one thing that Allah is doing here with us is that it ain't trying to, Holy-Apostle not trying to be a leader of everybody. He's sent with a specific duty to call the people back to the Lord, that the Lord is real and is present. Right. You know, the people that hear this message of Him is that maybe the leaders of those different communities may accept this covenant and guide their people in the way of righteousness and in truth. And the righteous only the Lord Most High, He's Allah. You know, but that's something that's He putting forth out here, you know, putting out this word, you know. There's so much more could be said, but you know, I hear our music slowly coming in, and I can't think Ahezaah enough for this day and this time. You know, we want to thank you for tuning into our program, and A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. If you missed this show, tune in again next week for more of what you heard. If you like what you hear, write in, call in, whether you're for or against, doesn't matter. Ahezaah, Allah, I make you within about your presence.
To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you